Starting off, we have Richard Sly. Sly is the tallest player in the history of the league, standing at a ridiculous 7 feet tall and weighing 300 pounds. Sly played defensive tackle and was drafted by the Oakland Raiders with the 253rd overall pick of the 1967 AFL draft. He spent the majority of his rookie season watching from the sidelines, but with his massive frame, he had to be extremely useful for plugging up running lanes in short yardage situations. He saw the field in 8 games in the regular season, and while he didn't get a chance to contribute much individually, the Raiders proved to be the best team in the AFL, finishing the regular season with a 13-1 record. In the championship, they took down the Houston Oilers in dominant fashion, winning 40-7, earning them a trip to the Super Bowl where the Green Bay Packers awaited them. The Packers proved to be too much and Oakland fell 33-14. While Sly was selected by the Cincinnati Bengals in the expansion draft, the Super Bowl matchup against the Packers went on to be the final game that he ever played in. You'd have to imagine that playing defensive tackle at that height would take quite the toll on your knees. I mean, just look at all the issues that 7-foot basketball players have to go through. Now imagine that being even worse because a 225-pound running back is plowing into your legs constantly. Sly ended up passing away in 1998 at the age of 54. What if I told you that the next player used his height to such an advantage that the league had to put a rule in place to slow him down? This was the case for Morris Stroud. Stroud was a 6'10", 255-pound tight end who was selected with the 76th overall pick of the 1969 NFL Draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. He failed to see the field at tight end in his rookie season, but later made a name for himself on special teams, more specifically on the field goal block team. The Chiefs implemented a unique strategy that had Stroud stand in front of the goalpost and attempt to swat the ball right before it went through the uprights. This led to the league implementing a rule that went on to be known as the Stroud Rule, prohibiting players from goaltending. This is something that you would expect to see in the NBA, not the NFL, and Stroud is one of the few players in league history who could even attempt to do this. The Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl in the 1969 season over the Minnesota Vikings by a final score of 23-7 after wins over the Jets in the divisional round and the Oakland Raiders in the AFC Championship game. In the 1970 season, Stroud began to play a bigger role in the offense, seeing the field at tight end in 13 games and even starting in 4 of them. He was able to pull in 4 passes for 86 yards and also scored the first touchdown of his career. The following season, he took over as Kansas City's starting tight end and had the best year of his entire career. He posted a career-high 93 yards on 3 catches and found the end zone once in the team's Week 10 matchup against the Denver Broncos, playing a huge role in the 28-10 win. Stroud finished the 1971 campaign with career highs in receptions and receiving yards with 22 and 454 respectively. The Chiefs made a return to the playoffs where they suffered a brutal 27-24 overtime defeat to the Miami Dolphins in the divisional round. In the 1972 season, Stroud saw his role reduced in the offense, starting in just 7 of the 14 games that he played in. As a result of this, his numbers saw a steep decline. In what went on to be his final 2 years of his career, Stroud started in all but 3 of the 28 matchups that he appeared in and proved himself as a capable threat in the passing game. Along with this, his enormous frame made him a very difficult player for opposing rushers to get around when he was blocking. He found the end zone twice in both seasons and combined for 357 yards on 24 catches. Stroud ended his time in the league with 977 yards, 7 touchdowns, a Super Bowl ring, and a rule change all on his resume. Stroud later passed away on October 17, 2016 at the age of 70. Next up, we have Dan Skipper, who stands in at 6 feet, 9 inches tall and weighs in at around 330 pounds. Skipper is a versatile offensive lineman who has spent time playing left tackle, right tackle, and left guard during his time in the league up to this point in time. He wound up going undrafted after it was discovered that he suffered from a chronic blood condition that was uncovered just months before the draft. While it appeared that this was going to be a death sentence for his NFL career, he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, he failed to make the final roster. Roughly a month later, he signed with the Lions as a member of the practice squad. He worked his way up to the active roster before eventually being cut and re-signed to the practice squad once again. Skipper wasn't given the chance to see the field in the 2018 season, spending the year with the Broncos and the Patriots practice squads. The following year, he was signed to the Texans and saw the field in 3 games before once again being released and making a return to the Lions. At that point in time, he spent 2 seasons in Detroit playing a collective 8 games, and in 2021 he was released and signed to the Raiders practice squad. Skipper didn't see the field during his short time in Vegas and once again returned to the Lions for a third and hopefully final time. Things stuck on this third signing and Skipper finally got his big break. In the 2022 season, he played in 16 games at left guard and even started in 5 of them. The following year, he returned to playing tackle and took on a backup role, but still played in 11 regular season games. Skipper even made a 4-yard reception this season. While he wasn't playing a huge role, the Lions put together a very respectable season, making a trip to the NFC Championship game after wins over the Los Angeles Rams in the wildcard round and the Tampa Bay Bucks in the divisional round. This NFC Championship game against the 49ers was a very tight one, but the Lions came up just short, falling 34-31. In 2024, Skipper tied a career high in starts with 5 and played in every regular season game. He once again made a catch this season, going for a 9-yard touchdown. Detroit made a return to the playoffs, but were stunned in the divisional round by the Washington Commanders, falling 45-31. Skipper had to overcome setback after setback throughout his time in the league, but it appears that he's finally carved out a role for himself in Detroit. We are going to have to see if they re-sign him for the 2025 season, though, and beyond. Now we're going to take a look at the career of Matthew Odonnell. Odonnell was a 6'9", 328-pound tackle who had a very interesting path to the NFL. He began his professional career in the Canadian Football League, where he was a second-round pick by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Shockingly, Odonnell went on to delay his signing with the team to pursue a career in the NBA. This was a move that left many people scratching their heads, as Odonnell had not played basketball since high school. Despite this, he still had summer workouts with the Celtics and the Toronto Raptors. Both of these workouts did not end up leading to contracts, though, and he was back to pursuing football. Shortly after, Odonnell was able to make the jump to the NFL and signed a contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. While he was able to remain on the roster for a year, he did not get a chance to see the field and was waived shortly before the 2012 season kicked off. Odonnell was able to make a return to the CFL, where he spent a couple of seasons before making a return once again to the Bengals. After failing to make it onto the final roster, he went back to the CFL, where he finished his football career. Since retiring from the CFL in early 2022, Odonnell has worked as an account manager at Hatch Company, according to his LinkedIn. Next up, we've got Ed Too Tall Jones. Jones was a 6'9", 271-pound defensive end who was selected with the first overall pick in the 1974 NFL Draft.
The Dallas Cowboys selection, Ed Jones, defensive end, Tennessee State.
In his rookie season, Jones quickly proved himself as someone who had a bright future in the league, recording 6 sacks and finishing 3rd in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. The following season, he took over as the Cowboys' starting left end, starting in all 14 games that he played in. He recorded the first interception of his career this season, but he received a bit more attention from opposing offensive lines, leading to him finishing the year with only 3.5 sacks compared to the 6 that he had in his rookie season. The Cowboys made a trip to the playoffs this year, and in his first ever postseason run, Jones was able to play a huge role in the team making the Super Bowl. However, they fell just short of a title, narrowly losing to the Steelers by a final score of 21-17. The following season, he had a bit of a return to form, having another 6-sack year, proving that he knew how to use his size to his advantage and perform as one of the toughest pass rushers to slow down in the entire league. Dallas was stunned in the playoffs this season, being upset by the Rams in the divisional round in a defensive battle, losing by a final score of 14-12. Jones had nearly identical numbers in 1977, getting 6 sacks for the second straight season. The Cowboys made a return back to the Super Bowl this year after wins over the Bears in the divisional round and the Vikings in the NFC Championship game. This time around, they would not be denied and defeated the Denver Broncos 27-10, earning Too Tall Jones the first title of his NFL career. The league expanded the regular season to 16 games in the 1978 season, and this played a role in Jones having one of the best years of his entire career. He made his presence felt this year, recording 9.5 sacks. The Cowboys made yet another Super Bowl run after wins over the Falcons and the Rams. However, the Steelers awaited them in the big game once again and denied them another title. Shockingly, after having what was a career year, Jones retired from the league to pursue a career in boxing. He was actually quite successful in the sport, but after spending a year away from the game, he decided to make a return to the Cowboys. He didn't miss a beat actually and had 8 sacks in his first year back to the sport. Dallas was still one of the best teams in football and actually made a run to the NFC Championship where they had their season ended by the Eagles 20-7. Despite being 30 years old in the 1981 season, Jones was playing some of the best football of his entire career. He tied his then career high 9.5 sacks, and along with this, he made the Pro Bowl and the All-Pro second team for the first time in his career. Not only this, but he also finished 8th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. The Cowboys were stopped just short of a Super Bowl appearance for a second straight year, this time falling to the 49ers in the NFC Championship in a nail-biter that ended in a 1-point loss for Dallas.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.
Jones was finally earning recognition as one of the best defensive ends that the entire league had to offer, making a return to the Pro Bowl and earning an All-Pro first team selection in a shortened 1982 season. In the postseason, the Washington Redskins cut off what appeared to be another promising run for the Cowboys in the NFC Championship. Shockingly, the 1983 season went on to be the final year in which Jones made a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro team, earning a second team selection on the back of a 7-sack, 1-interception year. This season, the Cowboys were stunned in the wild card round, falling to the Los Angeles Rams. Even though he was beginning to transition into his mid-30s, Jones was beating Father Time and continued to be one of the league's best performing pass rushers. He had arguably the best year of his career in 1985, where he set a season-high 13 sacks, getting to the quarterback almost once per game. This went on to be the final time that Jones was in the playoffs though, and it ended on a sour note with the Cowboys being beaten by the Rams in embarrassing fashion 20-0. 1986, it appeared as if Jones was finally beginning to regress, with his numbers taking a noticeable hit. But he had to return to form in 1987 where he got to the quarterback 10 times, marking the final double-digit sack season of his career. He held on to the starting spot for one more year, and in 1989, he still got the starting nod in 10 of the 16 games that he played in. Jones was able to play in the league until he was 38 years old, finally deciding to call it a career after 15 years in the league. He ended his career with 3 picks, 106 sacks, earning 3 Pro Bowl appearances, 1 All-Pro first team nod, 2 All-Pro second team selections, and a Super Bowl ring. Moving on to Jonathan Ogden, a 6'9", 345-pound, versatile offensive lineman who went on to have the best career out of any player that we're going to discuss today. Ogden was the 4th overall pick by the Baltimore Ravens in what went on to be a loaded 1996 draft class. He immediately took over as the team's starting left guard and started in all 16 games at the position during his rookie year. He finished 5th in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting, something that's extremely tough to do, especially for an offensive lineman. The following year, he switched over to his natural position of left tackle, where he would spend the remainder of his career. While he performed very well at left guard the season prior, Ogden was a different beast at left tackle and almost immediately became widely regarded as the most talented player at the position in the entire league, earning a trip to the Pro Bowl and an All-Pro first team nod. He continued playing at a very high level over the next 3 years, making the Pro Bowl every season and also tacking on an All-Pro first team selection and 2 All-Pro second team nods. The 2000 season marked Ogden's first playoff run, and he and his Ravens teammates made the most of it, running the gauntlet and taking down the New York Giants in Super Bowl 35. Winning by a final score of 34-7. This was truly a dominant Baltimore team on both sides of the ball, winning every one of their playoff games by double digits. Ogden tacked on another Pro Bowl and an All-Pro second team appearance to his resume in 2001, and the Ravens were able to make it back to the postseason. But this time around, they were stopped in their tracks in the divisional round by the Pittsburgh Steelers, falling 27-10. Despite nearing his 30s, Ogden showed no signs of slowing down and continued to shut down even the best defensive linemen, being named to the Pro Bowl and All-Pro first team in 2002 and 2003. He also helped Jamal Lewis out a ton with his blocking and was a huge reason why he eclipsed 2,000 rushing yards in a single season. The following season, he was sidelined for 4 games due to knee and hamstring injuries, but despite this, his level of play and pure dominance was undeniable when he was on the field, and he still made the Pro Bowl and All-Pro second team. While he failed to make either All-Pro team in the 2005 season, he did make a return to the second team in 2006, and Baltimore was back in the playoffs. But their offense was unable to get anything going against the Colts in the divisional round, losing 15-6. A major turning point during Ogden's career came late in the 2006 season when he was diagnosed with turf toe. The injury lingered throughout the 2007 season, which ended up being his final year in the league. While he was only able to suit up for 11 games, he was still voted to the Pro Bowl as a 33-year-old. Ogden finished his 12 years in the league with 11 Pro Bowl appearances, 4 All-Pro first-team selections, 5 All-Pro second-team nods, 1 Super Bowl ring, made the Hall of Fame All-2000s team, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. Interestingly, he is one of, if not the only players in NFL history to find the end zone every single time he caught the ball, ending his career with 2 receptions for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ogden is a generational talent at left tackle, able to leverage his enormous frame to stop even the most dominant defensive linemen in their tracks. After retirement, he mainly focused on his Jonathan Ogden Foundation, improving his golf game, and has an interesting commercial with Orrstown Bank.
Perfect.
Are you sure this is appropriate?
Next up, we've got Alejandro Villanueva, a 6'9", 277-pound left tackle who had a very unique path to the league. Villanueva attended Army for college, and after going undrafted, he went on to serve in the military. After finishing his service in 2014, he paid $245 to attend a regional combine that culminated in him being invited to a super regional combine where he met with the Philadelphia Eagles. Interestingly, in college, he was originally recruited as a tight end and he tried out for that position at these combines, but teams were looking for him to convert to the tackle position instead. While things didn't work out for the Eagles, he did go on to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It didn't take long for him to adjust to the new position either, starting in 10 of the 16 games that he played in as a 27-year-old rookie. Villanueva made his playoff debut this season as well, where the Steelers made it to the divisional round before being sent home by the Broncos by a final score of 23-16. He spent the entirety of the 2016 season as the team's starting left tackle, where he continued to be a key contributor for the Steelers. They then made a return to the postseason, where they made it all the way to the AFC Championship this time before running into a buzzsaw of a New England Patriots team who handed them a tough 36-17 loss. Just 2 years after converting to the left tackle position, Villanueva was named to the Pro Bowl for the first time, being recognized as one of the top talents at the position. In the postseason, Pittsburgh found themselves in a shootout with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the divisional round that ended in a tight 45-42 loss. Villanueva made a return to the Pro Bowl in 2018, continuing to excel and defy the odds. He then spent 2 more years in Pittsburgh, with the team able to make one more playoff run in 2020, where they were upset by the Cleveland Browns in the wildcard round. In 2021, he made the decision to sign with Pittsburgh's divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, on a 2-year deal. He started in all 17 games this season, but wasn't playing at the same caliber, letting up a league-worst 17 sacks. After that, he chose to retire with 1 year left on his contract. Villanueva is another player on this list that likely could have continued playing for a few more years if he really wanted to, but at the age of 33, chose to call it a career after 7 seasons in the league. He ended his career with 2 Pro Bowl appearances and a receiving touchdown to his name. After retiring from the league, Villanueva came out and said, "I'm not going to miss football at all." In fact, the military is what he misses the most, something that you wouldn't necessarily expect to hear out of a past NFL Pro Bowl. Now let's move on to Alfredo Gutierrez. Gutierrez stands in at 6 feet 9 inches tall, and during his playing career, he weighed around 332 pounds, playing both offensive tackle and offensive guard. He was born in and spent his college career in Mexico. After going undrafted, he was assigned to the San Francisco 49ers roster as a part of the league's International Player Pathway program. He spent 3 seasons with the team, spending the entirety of his time on the Niners practice squad. With the team having one of the best tackles in the league in Trent Williams, there was hope that he was going to be able to take Gutierrez under his wing. With this mentorship paired with his huge frame, it would have been ideal for him to develop into another elite piece of the team's offense. Unfortunately, this is not how things played out, and the 49ers allowed his practice squad contract to expire heading into the 2024 season. We're going to have to see if he can make a return to another team's active roster in the future. Next up, we've got Caleb Jones. Jones stands at 6 feet 9 inches tall and weighs around 370 pounds at the tackle position. After playing 4 years of college football at Indiana, he began his NFL career as an undrafted free agent, signing with the Green Bay Packers in the middle of 2022. He was added to the active roster for just one single game in the 2022 season. This went on to be the only time that he saw the field in the NFL so far. But he is still currently signed with the New England Patriots on a reserve/future contract, so hopefully for his sake, he can make something happen soon. Lastly, we have to cover Demar Dotson, a 6'9", 315-pound tackle out of southern Mississippi. Like multiple others on this list, Dotson went undrafted after college. He was different though, because he had a lengthy career in the end. After the 2009 draft came to a close, the Buccaneers signed him as a free agent. He didn't start at all, but he did make an appearance in 9 out of the 16 games during that year. 2010 was tough for Dotson because he was placed on IR, but starting in 2011, he began making a name for himself. By 2012, Dotson started in all but one game at right tackle, proving to be a real asset for the team. Unfortunately, the Bucs were struggling to win games around this time, and that trend continued all the way up until the 2016 season. 2016 was the only year that the Bucs went positive with Dotson healthy and playing on the team, but that wasn't his fault. He was regularly one of the best blockers that they had on their roster, and it's a shame that they couldn't build around him for more team success. From 2017 to 2019, Dotson kept doing a good job blocking, and it looked like he was going to finish out his career with Tampa Bay. That is, until he signed with the Broncos for the 2020 season. This was actually really unfortunate timing on Dotson's part because 2020 is when the Bucs won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. His one season with Denver proved to be his last in the NFL, in which he started in all 8 games that he appeared in. A few years after retiring, an incident occurred in 2023 where he was charged with misdemeanor battery. According to this article here, he slapped a woman in the face after a verbal argument escalated. Which one of these players surprised you guys the most? And if you want to learn more about what happened to certain players, click one of these 2 videos right here to find out.